Hi, everybody. It's Christina and Sarah, the two smart bloggers, and we are back for session 2 of our Smart Start blogging class. So we hope we didn't blow your mind with session 1.
There's a lot. Uh-oh.
And we're glad that you made it too. Give up on us. We know we can get your wheels turning. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the PowerPoint and do a screen share. So just bear with me while I do that. And for whatever reason, I'm always very slow at this. Okay, can you see my screen, Sarah?
Yes.
All right. Session 2, setting up your blog. So now we're going to get into some of the details about actually setting up your blog and to really get you started. So we're going to start talking about domains. Today's is all about domains and knowing about what your goals are.
Okay, so what are your goals? What is it that you want from this blog, right? Like, is this a hobby? Is this maybe it could turn into something later on, like, or it's definitely my job. I want to make money from this, right? Like, I have goals. I'm going to sell it in 2 years, whatever, right? What are your goals? That's what we want to know. And that means then we're going to move into domains. And there are different blogging platforms. The main ones that we're going to cover today are Blogger or Blogspot, WordPress.com, and WordPress.org, which is self-hosted. So domains, there are free domains that you can get. You know, you can get, my first one was when I was pregnant, and Stuziak, so it was StuzyStorkreport.blogspot.com. Talk about long. And so that was free, and that was okay because it was only a blog for my family. I didn't need anything more. I wasn't ready to jump into blogging and full time. So it was something basic, and that was all I needed. But if you spend, it's only about $10, $11, $12, depending on where you go, for a whole entire year to buy the actual domain name, .com, .me, .co, whatever it is. And so, sorry, preschool teacher emails. Oh, so please just spend the money, even if it's just a hobby. If you are going to be sharing it with other people on Facebook, please spend the money to get your domain name. All right, so that it's not blah, 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 .wordpress.com, blah, 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 .blogspot.com. It is your actual, right? Mine would have been StuzyStorkreport.com.
And two, it will, you never know what's going to happen over the next course of, a couple months or a couple years while you're, if you choose not to purchase your domain name, somebody else can run and snap it up right out from under you. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. So you have, it's a keeper.wordpress.com, and you decide, oh, well, I'm ready to move on to having it be a full-time job. Then you go and get it, try to find the keeper, and it's gone. Uh-oh.
Yep.
What happened?
Nope, there we go. And it was gone, as I learned. So again, this is all about working smarter and not harder and learning from our mistakes.
Yes. That's it. Okay, so the first blogging platform that we want to talk about is Blogger. And this is Blogspot, Blogger. This is the Google one. You can get access from your Gmail. Totally free, right? It's a free platform. That's what my first blog was on. It's a free platform to jump on. So the pros and cons, we're going to try and just talk you through some of them. It's low cost. It's free. Or it's even just $10 to buy your domain, and then you have the platform for free. It's pretty easy to use. They've made it fairly simple. There's not a whole lot that you can really do to it to make it as anything. You can't create anything you want on that site. They have templates and things that you have to work within. But you can just put a template in and get up and running and literally start a blog in like 10 minutes. And you can monetize it because it's owned by Google AdWords, and that's easy to implement. You can get ads on there. It's connected right away to analytics. It's connected to all of that stuff. So it's fairly easy to figure out all of the Google things because it's hosted by them. And you can use, there aren't any rules about monetization or anything like that. But again, as I said, like, yes, it does have templates, but it has templates, right? Like, these are the templates. These are the ones that they pick. And it's not super flexible. You can change those things if you know HTML, you know how to get in, you know how to get into the back, you know what to find and exactly how to do it. So you're still going to have to pay somebody to do those things if you're on that platform. So it is a little bit difficult. Limited monetization. What did we talk? Limited monetization.
You can do AdSense and Amazon affiliates, but it's limited. There's a lot of things you cannot do on a Blogger account. There may be other ones like Glam Ads or I don't even know the names of some of them. You can't work with any of the bigger ad networks. If you grow your site to that point, you may have difficulty working with things like AdThrive or the Blogger Network or some of the bigger ad management networks.
Okay, yeah, I was like, what were we talking about? And then the big thing for me is that Google owns the right to your stuff, right? Google, you put it on their platform. They own that platform. If they decide not to support that anymore, which they have been known to do, or they don't like what you're posting, or they don't like you, then it's gone. They've taken it, it's gone. So make sure you're backing it up often if you're on Blogger. Also, their images are hosted on a third party. So then from the last thing that I read, it's hosted on Picasa. And then if you are transferring over, which is super easy to transfer from Blogger to WordPress.org to a self-hosted WordPress, seriously, it's a couple of clicks of a button, but the pictures might not be taken also because they're in a separate file hosting site. So that can make it a little bit more difficult. Sorry. It's just, right, it is fine. You're starting out. You're not quite sure what you want to do. Very least start on Blogger and get your domain name.com.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Very least. All right, so the next one that we want to talk about is WordPress.com. And you'll notice that we're referring to two different WordPresses here. There's WordPress.com and WordPress.org. WordPress.com is the one that there's absolutely no cost to use. Your website URL will read, as mine did this is where I started. My website was itisakeeper.wordpress.com. You will always have that .wordpress in the middle of your URL if you use the free version. It worked for me, when I got started. And again, when I did decide to change, it was very simple to go from the WordPress.com to the WordPress.org. But to go through some of the pros and cons here, there is absolutely zero cost. When the day I decided to start my blog, I literally got on, Googled, and within, an hour or two, I had It Is a Keeper up and running. No time at all. And most of that time was just spent playing around with the design, which we'll talk about later. But that's a biggie. It's very easy to use. I knew nothing about blogging when I started my blog. I basically was watching the movie Julie and Julia, and I'm like, I'm going to start a blog and blog my way through the pile of recipes that I have. How do I start a blog? And then I Googled it and, started from there. And that was 6 years ago. WordPress.com also has a lot of free templates, just like Blogger, just like WordPress.org. There's a ton of free templates out there that you can use, but the customization can be limited, as Sarah mentioned. They're free for a reason, so there are limitations to them. Again, you can monetize it in certain ways. You cannot use AdSense ads on a WordPress.com site, so you will be limited in the ways you can monetize your ad. So if your goal is to make money on your website, I would highly recommend you do not go this route. Another pro as compared to Blogger and Blogspot is you actually own your content. So WordPress will not take down your site if they don't agree with what you write. They do not retain any rights to your content. It is your content. And you can host your images right on WordPress.com. Unlike Blogger, they don't make you use a third-party site for that. And there's some built-in support. So, it's a good system. It was great for me to start. It met my needs in the beginning. if you had asked me, do I wish I started this way? I would tell you right now, no. So, but I mean, that's my opinion, and my goals were different. You know, my goals were a certain thing, and I wish I had started a different way. Some of the cons. No, some of the cons for WordPress.com. Design can be tricky. Again, you're very limited with the templates that are there. There's not as many free design templates you can use. So that can be a little more difficult. Like I said, ads are not allowed. You can't put those AdSense ads in there. You can't work with a lot of the major ad networks if that's the way you wanted to go. So that is a big con. And there can be difficulty in people commenting on your blog. I think they make you log in if you want to post a comment on a WordPress.com blog. So that can be a barrier to some people leaving comments on your site. So these are just some things to think about. You know, do the pros outweigh the cons? And, you know, when you look at the 3 different main platforms here, you'll get to see, you know, how easy it is to make a decision on what platform meets your goals.
WordPress.com is not really for monetization. I mean, they do let you monetize some, but really they're not up for that.
Yeah, if your goal is a hobby blog and you just want some way to, you know, retain the rights to all of your content and images and everything and just share some information with friends, family, and some readers, you know, if you really don't have a 5-10 year goal, this may be for you. It's completely free, won't cost you anything, it's simple to use.
I'm still
all right. It's like the Coke Pepsi.
I guess so, yeah.
Back and forth. I'm a Coke girl. You're a Pepsi girl.
No, not a Pepsi girl. Actually, I don't drink either now. I only drink iced tea.
Well, there you go. All right. And on to the third and final platform we're going to talk about, WordPress.org. Go for it.
Okay, WordPress.org. Majority, and let us say we realize there are other sites out there, Squarespace, and right. We realize there are other ones out there. The majority of people use one of these top 3 ones. I know there's TypePad. I know a few people that use that, but really, the majority of people use Blogger, WordPress.com, or WordPress.org, which is also called a self-hosted site. And this is what we do recommend, WordPress.org. If you're looking to make money, if you're looking to have control, right? This is what the majority of sites are hosted on WordPress.org. It is free. WordPress.org. WordPress is a freeware, but you do have to pay for the server, right? So it's the industry standard. It's extremely flexible. There are plugins that you can, you know, you don't know the code, so then you just go and you find a plugin that does the code, puts the code in there for you, and you're good to go. You have 100% complete control. Now, that is amazing. You can do anything you want. Now, can you physically do, like, do you know HTML? Are you good enough? Or can you pay someone to do it, right? The sky is the limit, but that can be a con too, because there's anything you could do. There's a lot of support. There's lots of forums out there. The majority of us are using it, so you can bounce ideas. Hey, how'd you do this? What plugin are you using for that? You can always find a ton of people that are using it and that can give you the tip for what they found that works the best. Lots of plugins, as I said, and it's easy to use. You can pretty much, again, it's as long as you have the hosting already done, right? You have the hosting, you have your URL, you just click it and it uploads almost instantly and you're up and ready to roll.
And can I just pop in 2 seconds? A lot of the companies that do your hosting, whether you use a Small Orange or GoDaddy or Bluehost or whatever you use, a lot of them will help you set this up. So if you decide, you know, to go with one of those hosting agencies, they will help you get set up, you know, with the basic, you know, transferring everything over. But then you'll have to do your own design.
Yes, and if you are, I think we have some tips about WordPress in the membership forum. If you are a member, then definitely check out our courses and our tips over in there.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of resources.
There's a lot, yeah. So cons, yes, you do have to pay for it. Yes, it is it can be monthly, $5, $6, $7 a month that you're paying for hosting, which you typically pay up front. for that. You can do anything. So you can spend hours like Googling how to do one thing and, you know, find, I just need that one piece of code, because I've done that.
Me too.
Yeah.
Guilty as charged.
So you can spend hours trying to find something, and then you do have to monitor the security, right? Like if you're hosting, if it's hosted on somebody else's site, their Google or WordPress.com, they're going to try and, although there are some vampire stats and things like that, but they're going to really not get hacked. You're not going to get hacked like you will on WordPress.org, where just mean people in the world think it's fun to take sites down. I had a friend, not a large, she's an author, not a large site, but they hacked it. They put stuff up that wasn't hers, and she just walked away. Like you have to have certain, and there are plugins for that. Again, don't want to scare you off. But we all deal with it, and we all like, okay, do this, or this is the company I use. And it can add up. It definitely, there are money issues that do add up. But again, if you're making money, it is a business, and you have to spend money to start a business. So put yourself in that mindset. If your mindset is, it's just a hobby, or I just want to make enough to cover my hosting, like that's great. That's fine. But put it into, this is my business.
Yeah, it's good to start with that frame of mind too, I think.
Yeah.
And like Sarah said, we're not here to scare you. We're just bringing light the reality of it. Right. And security is a big reality. We'll talk a little bit about that in a couple slides coming up. But that's very important. And hosting, choosing your host is very important too. There was recently, I can't even remember the name of the hosting company, but it basically shut down the websites of a ton of bloggers that are out there. And they were scrambling. Was it Bluehost? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, these bloggers were then scrambling because their websites were down. I mean, they didn't even know. Some of them didn't even know their sites were down for like a day or two. So that's a big thing. Make sure you're picking reputable companies. And we have recommendations. We'll post those over in the classroom. Recommendations for hosting, who we use, and companies that we found to be reputable. Sorry, didn't mean to jump on your
great
soapbox there.
So I think there's the next slide.
Got it? Okay. So our recommendation out of all of these, everything you could think of, is WordPress.org. And I think you could see that coming. But our goal, like we said, is to help you build a smart blog, regardless of whether your goal is a hobby blog or a business blog or whatever your goal is. We want you to do it the smart way. And we think that WordPress.org, the self-hosted, is the best way to go. This is the industry standards. There is a lot of big national brands and companies that use WordPress.org as their backend. So it's definitely the gold standard. And this is what we both use. We both started on one of the free ones, Sarah on Blogger and me on WordPress.com. And for various reasons, we've both converted over to WordPress.org. So we think that it's the best one. Yeah. There's a minimal investment. You don't have to shell out a ton of money. You know, you could probably start the whole thing for like under $50 for the year if you really, really wanted to. So yeah, and that really depends on a lot of things, but you can start for very minimal investment. And there's so many possibilities. Like Sarah said, if you dream it, you can include it on your WordPress.org site. You know, it's a great thing. Now, if you already have a blog, you know, definitely continue this class regardless of your platform. You know, the content that we're going to teach you applies to any blog on any platform, regardless if it's Blogspot, Blogger, WordPress.com, WordPress.org, Tumblr, Typepad, any of those. The content that we're going to teach you will, you know, carry through. So don't worry about that. And if you have already started your blog on another platform, you can very easily switch. They make that stuff very simple now. If you can, many times you can do it yourself. If you find that you cannot do it yourself, there are people that can help you for, you know, a small cost. So it's definitely something. You're not married to whatever you pick. And if you want help switching over to that, just let us know. Contact either Sarah or myself, and you know, we can either put you in touch with somebody or help you do it ourselves.
Yep.
Okay. Moving
on. Now we're going to move on.
We've beat that horse. So let's move on to the next one. Elements of design.
I want to say first too is that your platform is kind of the base of your triangle here. Your WordPress would be the base of the blog, and so then the next step would be your theme. Okay, and so that's what, when we're talking about design, the theme is kind of the code that goes in to make it look how it looks, and how where the posts are put on the page, and where the header is put on the page. The theme tells all of those things. So yeah, there are lots of, and depending on your platform, there are ways to find free themes, right? You can use free themes in Blogger. What's it? Cutest blog on the block or something like that. I found all these free themes, and there are paid themes. You can go to Etsy. There are some great ones on Etsy that people use. Studio Press, Genesis is really what I use when I'm building blogs, and I know that they are a reputable company. So we've got WordPress.org, right? So the WordPress platform, and then Genesis would be next. So that would be the theme, and then we've got our child theme is kind of the prettiness of it, what colors and all of those things. So you've got WordPress, you've got Genesis is the theme that we use, and then you've got a child theme, which can be very different. Those child themes are the ones that you can get on Etsy, and they'll tell you, oh, you need Genesis or all of these things too. And if you need that, let us know. So free options, paid options, or you can also hire a designer. Honestly, I'm a DIY kind of girl, and I spent a lot of the first year of blogging figuring out how to do the code and how to do the design myself, because I didn't want to, I changed my font all the time. I didn't want to have to pay someone, because once you pay someone, they're going to put all the code, and it's going to be kind of strange, and you can't really make those little tweaks as easily as you could if you use a theme that's very common that other people use. Let's see. Customization. Are there more bullet points on this?
No, this
that's it.
Theme,
okay. Yeah. So you need to think about, like, what, when you're choosing a theme, do you want a small header, a large header? I recommend smaller, the better. And because you want people to see your content, right? Not your header being like this big when people get on the screen. That's not good. So where's the header go? What do you want? Where's the sidebar go? What's the font? How are the posts laid out? Right? Like, that's the kind of theme you need to, that's what the theme decides. So you want to look at the theme and think about, like, the general overall look that you want when you're buying a theme.
Yeah, and even when one of my themes, I think the previous to what I have right now, was a custom design. Like, it wasn't an out of the box template at all. I had a designer that designed it completely from scratch. So it was all HTML. While it was great at the time, it was very difficult. I could not make a lot of the changes myself. And so that put me at the mercy of somebody else. So that can be a challenge. So these are things to think about. Do you want to use an out of the box that you can tweak, or do you want it completely custom where you have to get a designer to make all the changes for you? Okay, do you have anything else on that topic?
Nope.
Okay, moving on. The next thing we want to talk about in the elements of design are things called plugins. And plugins are what make your blog function. They do a lot of the specific things that you need to have happen on your site. And things like, for an example, security, if you want to back up your site, if you want to input certain SEO things, Google Analytics. Yeah, code for Pinterest, code for social sharing. If you want to have, those buttons that say share this on Facebook or Twitter or Pinterest, those are all done with plugins. Plugins give you a ton of flexibility, and they're one of those things that you can kind of go bananas researching and looking into. I I will give a word of caution though. You want to make sure you don't have too many plugins. And here is a tip that I will give you. I keep a spreadsheet. Go ahead, laugh at me, Sarah.
You do.
I keep a spreadsheet of all of my plugins. And I put the name of the plugin, I put the date I installed it, and then I also put what function it serves on my website, because a lot of times the name may not match up with the function, and I have a very short-term memory. I can't remember anything anymore. So I dump it all into a spreadsheet so I can remember what things do, so that if something better comes along, I know what I have to delete and what I have to change. But then also, if God forbid something goes wrong on my site, it could be an error from a plugin, and then I can go and start, you know, turning things on and off to find out where the error was.
It almost always is a plugin.
It's almost always a plugin, yeah. So definitely keep track of those kinds of things. Keep it, you know, either write them down in your notebook or keep a spreadsheet or something like that. There is a ton of information in the forum on plugins. So if you're a member and part of our membership, you can head over there and check out all that information. There is a lot of it. Some plugins are free, some are paid. You'll see that when you go to download them, but they're in the sidebar. This is a screenshot of a sidebar for a WordPress WordPress dashboard, and plugins are one of the things, and you can easily search through them. It's also something you can Google, and we will give you a printable with this course of our top WordPress plugins that we recommend. There are things that every website needs to have, in our opinion. So make sure you're starting it off right and you have these websites to protect yourself and to help you.
And again, we have lots of resources on working through WordPress.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll stop with this specific WordPress.
And moving on.
Moving on to design tips. Okay, so there are the design, it's kind of like hair. You can make it whatever color you want. You can make it big, you can make it little, you know, like you can do whatever you want. But less is more, right? Like you don't want to have all of this stuff, because the point is not to look at the pretty design. The point is to read the content and look at the pictures. So we're gonna say less is more. I typically now these days even just do a white background and just have a little picture of a, you know, the name of the blog. Like I go very minimal these days. You don't have to go that minimal, but do try and diminish the distraction so that your content and your photos are top of mind, top priority. That's what catches people's eyes when they get there.
Yeah.
Stick with a consistent color scheme. Don't pick 5, 10, 12 different colors. Pick like 2 colors. This is my main color, you know, and I even have sometimes, well, on my last design, I had one main color that I used, right? That was the color that I used for my links. That was the color that I used for headers. That was the color that I had in my my title. Like I had one color. So if I was, so that was branding me across all my social media. I had, you know, in my name, you can see we've got the light blue. That's our color. So branding, and the purple and the design there. So we have a few colors on ours, but don't pick a ton of colors. Don't pick, you know, pick complementary colors. Not like hot pink that's gonna like rip your eyes out when somebody tries to look at it. You can be hot pink, just tone it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Limit your fonts. You don't want to have, right, like especially in your header, do a print big name and then a script for your tagline, okay? Or not competing, and then use those same the same print for your headers. Don't pick different fonts. Those are easy to do, and make sure there are ones, if you look, you can see, look it up, like what is the average readable, the easiestly, don't think that's a word, the easiest font to read online, right? People don't spend a lot of time reading because it's taxing on the eyes. So if you have to make it the easiest because you want them to stay on your site. Yeah. And you want to have a simple layout. They can find, like, these are your categories in your menu bar. They're clear, they're easy. It's not on a black background with white words, that harms the eyes. You know, white background, black, not 100% black, but a little bit of gray, so that it's not it's not hard on the eyes. It's a simple layout. Don't try to make things too fancy, too bright. Be basic.
Yeah. And think about your white space. I think that's really important. And this slide is a great example. We've shown you a lot of slides with a lot of images. This one has a lot of white space that's on here now. So it gives your eye a chance to relax and, you know, not feel like you're keyed up all the time. So you really want to make sure you have enough white space on your site.
Yeah.
Especially too, think about the way people are going to be accessing your site. A lot of times, I know for my site, it's on tablets and cell phones. So when you have, you know, that much information condensed down into a little tiny space, the colors are just that amplified that much more. So you really want to make sure that it's simplistic enough to be pretty across all types of devices. All right, so next thing we want to talk about are categories and tags. So as Sarah was referencing, we have the triangle with WordPress. You have your theme, you have your plugins, your design and layout. Categories and tags are basically how you're going to organize the content that's on your site. So the way I like to think about categories and tags is think of a binder. Your category would be the binder. Your tags would be the tabs within that binder. Essentially, you should have only a handful of categories. So maybe 5 or 6. I would not go overboard. When I first started, as I mentioned, with having a smart blog, when I first started, I had easily 20 to 25 categories. I had a category for every type of recipe I made, but that wasn't the smart way to organize my site. The better way is to have fewer categories, and then some of those subcategories are actually tags. So for instance, on my site, the binder would be quick and easy recipes. That would be my category. My tags within that category would be chicken recipes, pork recipes, pasta recipes, dinner recipes, lunch recipes, breakfast recipes. They would be the tabs within my binder. Another category I'd have would be slow cooker recipes. And then within that, again, you have a tag of chicken, breakfast, lunch, snack, dessert, those kinds of things. So if you look at the little Post-it note that's up here, your categories are essential. They're not going to change depending on the type of post that you put up. They don't cross over into other categories, and they're not really spontaneous. Your tags are not really essential. If you have them there or not there, people are still going to be able to find, you know, your quick and easy recipe. They're more open-ended. They can cross over. I can have a chicken recipe that falls under slow cooker and quick and easy. And they can be spontaneous. So if you get something, you know, a post that pops up that maybe you do decide, you know, maybe I decide at one point to do a gluten-free recipe on my site, I wouldn't create a separate category for it. I could still put it under quick and easy, but this one's gluten-free, and I would tag it with gluten-free. So we want you to think like that. Fewer categories, more tags is the crux of it. And use your content map that we created in session 1 that you were supposed to do for homework. Use that content map to help you map out what your categories are. Like I said, less is more when it comes to
tags if you want. You know, add things. Okay, I've got recipes, you know, what are these, or quick and easy, or chicken, you know.
Yep.
Add those tags, possible tags and stuff too. That'll help you create content and organize your site.
So many times, Sarah, and I think you can agree, we see people that do it the complete backwards way, and there's like a boatload of categories out there and subcategories, and you know, when really a lot of those things
done it both ways, right?
Yeah, so they, you know, it's keeping it clean and simple is best.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are at the end.
Yay! This one was it still was a lot of information, and now we want you to take everything from session 1 and session 2, put all of that stuff together, choose your platform, buy your domain, secure your social media, start planning your design. Okay, make the decisions. Today we are action. We are really acting. We are not just planning. We are going out there, getting your domain. If you have a blogspot.com or WordPress.com, I highly, highly, highly want to encourage you to get your domain. Okay, get the social media for those things.
Even if you don't use that domain, just get it.
Right. Get the domain. It's easy to sub it on Blogger. You can just go in and say, here's my domain in your settings. Like, it really isn't that difficult. And there are, Google it, right? How do I get my own domain for Blogger? So there are simple ways to do this. So go take action, take all those plans, and get out there.
Yeah, one thing I'm going to add to this take action list that we didn't do is start mapping out, start making a list of your categories and tags that you think you're going to use. Obviously, your tags will change as life, as time goes on, but start setting up those categories that you want. That's the most important part, and start thinking about those. And, if you have any questions about this session, head over to the Smart Start Blog Class Classroom, the private Facebook group just for this class, and we will have a thread set up for session 2. And you can post your questions and comments there, and we'll interact with you. And as we mentioned, there's a ton more information over in the membership forum. So if you're not a member and you think it's something you want, it's, it could be well worth it.
Okay. So we'll also have those top 10 WordPress plugins for you if you need those. And then the design checklist, we'll put some of those ideas so that you can be like, oh, what was it they said? Don't have this or don't do this. We'll put that into the class resources also for you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Good luck.
Thanks, everybody. And we will see you in session 3. Bye.